front and center. That was like the thing. Like you want this person's new song on sheet music. Like, so my dad brought me home some Vanessa Carlton and my 1,000 Miles. And I worked so hard to learn that.
Yes, I'm Adam, by the way, and this is about you both and your journey in music, and we'll talk about everything going on with you and all the new music. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. So I always start off with where were you both born and raised? Alyssa, where were you born and raised?
Rochester, New York, specifically Penfield, if we're getting suburbs.
Let's get suburbs.
Let's do it.
Okay. How far out from like the city were you? I don't know much about New York, to be honest.
No, that's okay. I will give you a quick little thing. So
I'd love to hear
it. Where we are is about 5.5 hour drive. We are from New York City. So we are north and then west. So kind of close to Canada. We're about an hour from Canada.
Okay.
From Niagara Falls. So if we're talking suburbs versus Rochester, New York, I was like 15 minutes away.
Okay. And did you go out pretty close to there, Maddie?
Yeah, I'm Rochester as well. I'm from another town called Spencerport, but like, I mean, we're all like 10 minutes away from the city of Rochester. So pretty much Rochester, yeah.
Rochester, you can get anywhere in about half hour in Rochester.
Okay, so Matt, did you grow up with Alyssa or like?
No, I mean, we went to different schools. I mean, we didn't know each other growing up, but then we started playing in bands in Rochester and kind of connected in the music scene through music scene. So
very cool. And how did you get into music originally?
Do I go first?
No, you go first.
Let's see. When I was in school, I started playing trumpet. Never practiced, hated it. It was horrible, but I like wouldn't quit it, so I still was in band. But then when I got into high school, I started guitar and started playing in jazz band and fell in love with that. So I went really into that. Like I went and like majored in jazz performance, and then out of college started playing more indie pop stuff with Alyssa, and here I am.
I converted him.
Playing very little jazz.
Wow. So you said trumpet? You were a trumpet player?
Trumpet, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what drew you to trumpet?
I know. I want to know that too.
Like, when you're in 4th grade, you go down to the band room and you try out instruments and you pick it. I mean, it was shiny and gold looking, and I was like, oh, this is cool, but like you have to like practice, keep up with it, because like the embouchure with your lips, it's like if you don't practice every day or weekly, so like when you go in band, it's just like it destroys your lips. But I hated it.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, why do I want to play an instrument that like you're out of breath the whole time? Like guitar is fun. You can like chew gum, have a drink on the side, talk. It's just like way more chill than.
I mean,
do you still play trumpet at all?
God, no.
I'm sure you can pick it up and noodle around.
I could finger it, but the sound coming out would be like a dying animal. I mean, it would be awful.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
So you played that through middle school? When did you pick up guitar? I'm sorry.
I picked up guitar in high school, but I still can. I mean, I played trumpet all the way until I graduated, and it was like I got really into guitar and like, went into jazz band and did like the all county and all the academic guitar stuff. And then like my band teacher, looked the other way in my trumpet and just let me focus on guitar. But I mean, it was good. It taught me how to read music. It taught me how to, like being like in elementary school, playing in a band or, in concert band all the way through. I mean, you still pick up things even if you're not practicing.
Did you do concert band all the way through high school?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did both concert band and then jazz on guitar?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Were you in any other bands through middle school, high school? Like rock
I mean,
band?
I was in like, bands with like for guitar with my friends, you play in like the, like the garage bands and stuff like that. So I was kind of doing both because it was fun, but nothing really serious.
Aww.
And Alyssa, how did you get into music?
I grew up in a house that had an organ that literally came with the house. It was
wow.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. And so I remember just plunking out My Heart Will Go On it. I was really excited to learn that song. So I was really young and just plucking out notes. And then I just got really into it from there. You know, I was a very much 90s baby, loved my, you know, Britney Spears, Hanson, that kind of stuff. And my parents got me piano lessons, and then that was kind of it for me. I just fell in love with playing piano, and then I started writing some really poopy songs. But I was like a child, so
Sure.
and then I remember my dad came home with, like, you know, you used to get like sheet music for, I mean, you could still can, but I remember going to Guitar Center and it was like front and center. That was like the thing. Like, you want this person's new song on sheet music. Like, so my dad brought me home some Vanessa Carlton and my 1,000 miles. And I worked so hard to learn that. And
that's a cool like piano part.
Oh my God, yeah, it was the coolest. And like being like a child, like learning that, I was like, I am the coolest ever. So from that was like a really big inspiration for me to be able to like sing and play. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this. So from then I just started writing songs on my own. And I knew at a really young age that this is kind of something I wanted to pursue. And that was really it. It was kind of self-taught vocals. And then I took piano lessons for classical piano.
Wow. And did you do that all through high school?
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't remember when the piano lessons stopped. I think they just stopped mutually. I think like for some reason, like my teacher didn't show up one day and like my mom never called them. And it was just like, it stopped. Like it never was like a certain thing that I stopped. But sometimes I pick up like an old book and I'll play like a classical tune. I'm not great at it, but it's fun. It's very therapeutic.
I'm sure. Yeah. Obviously you can still play.
Yeah.
Do you both read music at all? Like, I mean, is that coming into the songwriting at all? Like, do you write it out, or is it just here's the notes, play along with each other? Or
no? And it's like I spent like so much of learning guitar, like, you know, reading music and priding myself that, like, you know, because I would do like pit band, like before I was playing in like bands, like, you know, you do pit bands for musicals and you read music, and you're like, practice so much at getting good at sight reading, and then all of a sudden you start playing in bands in the real world and nobody reads music. And even if they do, they like nobody like, here's your chart, you know, let's go play at a club, like, you know. And when we're writing originals and we have other musicians playing our songs, it's just like, no, they're just like, let me hear the track, you know. So like,
yeah,
and I kind of think that's better actually. I used to be more like snobby, like we're gonna read music, and now I'm just kind of like, get your head out of the book, especially for like, you know, almost any genre other than like classical. It's just like, listen to the music, respond to the music, use your ears.
No, that's, I mean, but to kind of answer your question in a different way, like music theory, I feel, because he's a big theory guy. I mean, I learned some theory, but he's like really good with it. I feel like that does affect the writing though, because I mean, well, obviously it always does, but I find myself, I'll be like, okay, what's actually a different combination here melodically or something. So sometimes it's not all just by ear. Sometimes it's like just trying to find something a little left to center, you know?
Sure. Well, like I've never asked anyone this. I'm actually kind of curious now. Like when you play in jazz band or you're in these concert bands, you have the sheet music in front of you, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But do the majority of people, because if you go see, you know, Roses and Revolutions, you're not going to have your stand of sheet music up while you play. Like, do a lot of the artists or a lot of the musicians in these, you know, pit bands, like orchestras, do they have to follow that? Like,
I mean, obviously when you get to when you get to like a really high caliber level of like any concert musician, you know, I'm sure they're really awesome and probably have developed good ears. But like, I remember like I went to school at like right outside New York City for college for jazz guitar, and it's like there'd be times where there'd be some students, and I remember one of my first days there too. It's just like all of a sudden like a simple tune that you've been playing over and over, and you just have the music in front of you. All of a sudden you take the music away, and you're like, wait, how does that go? Like, you know what I mean? Like you just like, it's just like you get so reliant on the thing. And when we first started doing Rose and Revolutions, it was more. We were writing more for TV and film, and like not so much like this is what we're gonna play out. We were doing like some songs for that. And in Rochester, we have the Eastman School of Music, which is like a really big, well-known like classical orchestra thing. And there's an amazing like selection of, you know, string, you know, students there that play amazing, like cello, violin, and you can get them, you know, we like reached out, does anyone want to play on this track? And they were like these amazing musicians from all over the country that came to Eastman, and they were like $50 to play a track. Like, oh my gosh. So like one of our first tunes, like I remember we hired like this cellist, and like she was like, you know, the song was like 4 chords. It was like an acoustic like folk tune. Like, can you just like, you know, play the, and she's like, what, give the chart? And it's just like seeing her, like seeing some of these schooled like classical musicians, it's like even some that they can play the most insane stuff. And then it's just like, if you just play the track through the speakers of the computer, I'm like, we just need you to like double the bass. They're like, all right, well, what's the chart? And it's like, well, it's 4 notes. You can play like insane stuff. And so I do think that does factor in. We're like, you know, our drummer, you know, grew up playing in different bands in church, and it's just like he just listens and he, you know, knows what the bass player and stuff like that. So I do think that does factor in, that like there's some classical musicians are so reliant on sheet music, you know, and not just improvising or using the ear or responding. I'm not saying all, I think it's changing. I feel like people nowadays, you know, you see so many musicians like kill it on both genres. They can play classical and then improv and crossover, but
yeah, I always find that interesting because you'll watch. I was just watching on Disney Plus. They have like Billie Eilish did like this thing for Disney Plus where she's playing the Hollywood Bowl, and she brings in this whole like string. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she brings in like this whole orchestra with her, and they all have the sheet music. And I'm thinking like they probably all could figure out her music pretty quickly. I don't know. And then they all have it in front of them. But I don't know, maybe like you said, maybe they just become almost reliant on reading the sheet music.
Yeah, or maybe they're just like at that level, they get so many gigs. Although you think for like the Billie Eilish filming, like let's memorize this. But like I feel
right,
like
you think.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, like you go on the other spectrum, you see like, you know, some like if you see like a pop rock band or somebody in like, let's just say like John Mayer sitting in it, he doesn't have a music stand. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like,
he just knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Could you imagine John Mayer's sentences?
Yeah, like you see somebody sit in, you know,
that's
like
funny.
on that level, or like at the Grammys when they have like 2 artists together, they don't have each other's lyrics up or music, you know.
Right. Yeah, you feel like it'd be well rehearsed enough that they wouldn't need it, but like, it's just so common to see it. You're like, oh, okay. But yeah, like you said, John Mayer wouldn't come out with his book and like start flipping through like, okay, I'm gonna play, you know.
That would actually be so funny.
Right.
I wouldn't put that past him though.
It's just totally a different perspective on music. But I don't know if I came up with some weird research, but Alyssa, were you on American Idol?
I was.
Okay.
It's not weird at all.
Well, I didn't know. And I'm like, I think this is her. And so you made it through Hollywood Week. What was it like being on that show? And like, what prompted you to go try out? Did you have to wait in the big line? And
yeah. Oh God, yes. I did it right away. When I was 16, I was really excited to try out. I remember that was like, woo, I was game. So my parents were always they've always been supportive of this dream. So they were like, let's go, pile in the car, let's go. We registered for, we went to Atlanta first. I didn't make it in Atlanta. So my parents were like, let's try again. And so we went to my best friend and I and my parents, we made a little weekend in Philadelphia. And I went there, waited for, oh man, it's the earlier you register, I know it's different now, but like the earlier you register, the earlier you audition. Mm-hmm. So you're in a stadium and there's like 20 booths of just producers, just booths. And you get lined up by 4 people and they're just like, here, go. And you sing and you're hearing the stadium noise, like of people in the audience, like just people like, waiting.
It's gotta be like mayhem.
Oh my God. You're hearing that. And then you're hearing people at all the other booths around you singing their hearts out for their lifetime opportunity. And then you go up and you're like, okay. So yeah, I did that. And weirdly, all 4 of us in my group, it was all women, all girls, we went through to the next round. So after that round, you go to the next round, which is executive producers. And then you finally get to like the celebrity judges, which is interesting. So it was amazing experience. I made it to Hollywood. I missed my first week of school.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's so funny too, because I couldn't tell my teachers, like I couldn't tell anybody why I wasn't there, because they make you sign like this much paperwork of like, don't talk. so I was like, sorry, I won't be at my first day of school. Like, send me my stuff that I need to know. And
confidential information.
Yeah, it was so stupid. I was like so excited though. I was like, I'm on American Idol. Blah. So yeah, it was a great experience. My mom came with me because I was too young to go by myself. And I mean, I got out. I got eliminated, but I think it was for the best. Honestly, like it was a really great experience, but I wouldn't do it again. It was just
Really?
very yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but it's not what you see on TV. Like the back,
Right.
like behind the scenes is so different. It's very I mean, it's very staged. And I got to realize that when I was there, and I was like, and I couldn't be too hard on myself, but it was hard not to be when I got eliminated. But I'm like, okay, I saw what it is.
Yeah, and it's one of those shows too where I've interviewed a handful of people that were on American Idol. Actually,
Yeah.
David Cook, who won your season, I think you were
Yeah.
in season 7. I was shocked to know that he was one of the people that stood in line. I'm like, wait a minute, because you'll hear people that they just kind of reach out to, especially now with like Instagram, and
Definitely.
they'll just say, hey, you're gonna make it all the way to the, just in front of the judges, and it's like, well, of course I'll go do that.
Exactly. But, yeah, no, I don't think it was like that at all then.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so different. I mean, these were the days of like, early Facebook. So it was
right, sure.
And
you could have your phone too, right? So are you seeing people like, I would imagine that would be so hard to like just go on Twitter or whatever and just see people like talking trash, or I mean, I don't know. That'd be something that would be hard. I've been scanned to be like, ouch. You know what I mean?
Well, think about it. I mean, yeah, I was a kid. So it's like, I mean, it was really rough because they of course didn't show my good audition. They showed the audition.
Why would they, right?
No, why would you? They showed the audition in Hollywood Week, and it was awful because it was the first year they let instruments happen.
Okay.
So here I am, like, I'm going to show them I can play the piano and sing. So I got up there, and they rolled the piano out from behind the stage, and they put it there, and everyone's eyes are on me. And I go to play my first note, and the sustain pedal doesn't work. And if you know anything about like playing a piano, sustain pedal is a necessity. Otherwise, it sounds choppy and horrible. I didn't even get to sing a note, and they were like, "Stop, go." So yeah.
Whoa, really? They just shut you down on the piano part? Yeah. Couldn't you just say the pedal's busted? Like, why don't you get it together here, Fox, or whoever was doing it?
Now I was like, guys, can you just like give me a second because this is not working. But I was a kid, and I was like,
yeah, you don't know how to react to that, obviously. Yeah, exactly.
My fault.
Well, I mean, obviously you must have been validating enough to know that you made it that far, and to be able to tell your school like, hey, yeah, I'm going to Hollywood Week at American Idol. Like, I don't know, that's kind of cool.
It was very cool. It was a great experience. And, I ended up meeting Matt that way. So like after at home, my hometown made a big stink about it. So
well, that's cool. I mean, yeah,
it was really sweet. And then he reached out because he had a project, and he's like, hey, you want to come sing? So it was cool.
Okay. So did you find out about Alyssa through that, Matt?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Rochester, like she said, made a big deal. I mean, I think you were like one of maybe the first person from here. I mean, nowadays with so many shows, you just, a lot more people that make some airtime, but it was a big deal for Rochester, I think.
That's cool. And were you doing, because you said you went to college for guitar?
Yeah. So I was playing, I mean, like out of that, then I started playing in like an instrumental band, and we had the one with the singer, and we were doing like, I don't know, we were like opening for like Ingrid Michaelson for one show, and I was like,
wow,
it didn't really fit, and then connected with Alyssa, and then we played in a couple bands together before we started this project. So
okay. And then when did it become just the two of you for Roses and Revolutions?
Like, I mean, we started writing. It was weird because, like we said, we started writing under this name for TV and film, which really wasn't. The songs are out. Yeah. I think that might have been like 2015.
Yeah, probably
2014, 2015, and then like we started releasing like and touring and playing as Roses, like I don't know, maybe
16, end of 16.
Yeah, Around the Pines came out.
Yeah.
So you started this project solely to pitch to film and TV? in the beginning?
I mean, we were still like, I mean, we still wanted to play and do stuff, but like we were kind of like, you know, let's really like see if we can kind of chisel away and get into the sync world.
We were aiming hard for that.
Yeah.
What was
so go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying it's a different kind of writing too when you're writing specifically to try and pitch. So it was like whatever was popular at that time. We were like, okay, let's try and like emulate this a little bit and get like the keywords in there. You know what I mean?
It was definitely more singer-songwriter, like folky in there.
Folky, yeah, for sure.
And with that, like, did you like? How do you even get into that world? Was it like you kind of knew a licensing person that you could send pitches to, or like how do you?
So like thinking back, I mean, back then it was just the two of us. We didn't have a label or manager, and I mean, we tried a couple like sync companies, and they, you know, they didn't really do anything. And we honestly just kind of were reaching out directly to music supervisors, which I know sometimes nowadays it's like depends on the person. I don't know. Sometimes it can annoy a person, but like we kind of found luck just like finding a few people that were like the music supervisors on the shows that, you know, or like on the companies that we thought like, you know, our music would fit. And a couple of them were really nice and, you know, listened to the music and then started like getting, I think our first sync was like, was it the Real L Word on Showtime? And then,
wow.
You know, and it was fun. Like we didn't have Showtime. So we had to like, I don't know if
we like bought it for a week.
Like free trialed it.
Yeah. Like Time Warner. Like, can we have this for a week?
Yeah, so stuff like that. And then I think like then it was like a bunch of like a lot of like the MTV ones, which are pretty cool, like the Teen Mom, stuff like that. And then it just kind of, you know, we just kept kind of running with it. And it's still a big part of what we do now.
Yeah.
I mean, we found that like we don't cater the song to sync as much, but like we always have that kind of in the back of our mind. It's really cool to see how your songs plays with the scene.
100%.
So when you write now, it's not like, okay, this song will be something for a record. It's more like this song, like this is a great song. Let's pitch it and also put it on our project.
Yeah, because like, so like we're on a label now. We have a sync team, and it's, you know, we have more people helping us, and you do get like briefs sent to you where it's like, you know, this is the scene, they're looking for a song that sounds like these 4 songs, looking for this sort of content. And we found like whenever we try to write, like, all right, let's write for this brief. Let's, you know, this is a sick like sync. It'll be awesome to get it. We write a song. We're like, this song fits this brief to a T. We like never get it. And then it's like, we write a song that for us, it's like this song would never be synced. That's the one that ends up getting synced. And I've been like trying to analyze it, and I'm wondering if it's just like, I feel like nowadays, like sometimes like when, or at least our writing, like when we would write it for sync, it almost sounded too syncy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
Like our last EP, we wrote this song. Originally it was called Alice, and then we did change the name because we did hear that like, I mean, it was not written for sync at all, but you know, our label, like they have a sync department and they want to ingest every song into the system. And they're like, you know, for sync, never have it the name of a person, because, you know, if it's not the name of the character, music supervisors don't relate to it. So we changed it from Alice to Looking Glass. And like the song really, you know, for like syncs, they say like have a, you know, a lot of like oohs and ahs and very simple lyrics, no fast lyrics. Like that's the stuff they usually tell you for like sync. And this one was just more like, let's make it a little bit more, you know, this was for us. You know, the verses are very fast spoken, and it just got like the opening scene in like Batwoman, the new episode that came out for the season, and it was like one of our favorite things. It was cool. It was like a whole montage of just a song playing, and we're like, oh, see, like if we had tried to write for this scene, we wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes I do think sometimes now music supervisors are looking for like real artists or real songs that, you know, instead of like something that was almost like a jingle. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I've heard, which is interesting, like Grey's Anatomy is an example of like, I guess that show would kind of break artists. Like, like they were very good about finding smaller indie bands and then putting them in their show, and then people would find them based off of syncs.
Another huge 100%. One that like we followed is like Lord Huron, and
I love that band.
Yeah, I mean that's Alyssa's all-time favorite band. I mean, I'm a huge fan too, but like, I mean, you've been following them for a while, and they had like a good following, but their second album, the last song was that The Night We Met.
Yeah.
And then,
which you guys do a beautiful cover of, by the way.
Thank you.
But like, how long after? Because that album was already out, and then that like got huge sync in the first season of 13 Reasons Why. It was actually like written into the plot. And if you look at like when that album kind of came out versus that when it was synced, I think it was like at least a year or two. So it was like
I think it was 2 years.
Yeah,
I work.
Like that's a good example. But that's
a
real song. I'm pretty sure they wrote that artistically. It was the last song on the album, and I think the music supervisor just like related to the song.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think that's when it really connects.
Well, Empire of the Sun was a big example of that too.
Yeah.
Walking on a Dream, like that was from like 2008. And then it broke in like 2015 because it was in, I think it was in like an Apple commercial or something.
I think it was. It was something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, this song. I've come from radio, so I remember just being like, we'd have to like talk about the song and be like, oh yeah, this is Empire of the Sun with a song that came out, 7 years ago. That's new to 90% of the America. And it's same with The Night We Met, because I think The Night We Met came out in maybe 15 or something. Yeah. And then that show was like a couple of years later. Yeah. And then it became like the biggest song in alternative radio for a while.
It's insane.
It's just such an interesting way about it. But so when did you start, moving from writing for sync to just becoming just a band of, hey, let's just put records out for ourselves and take it that way?
We were always like playing shows locally, and then
even writing when you were doing the stuff for sync, we were
always playing shows, and then we were kind of like starting to like, we want to make this into like a legit band and stuff like that, and we were talking to some managers and some like smaller labels, and like everybody had their opinion on what we should be. I mean, Alyssa's voice is like very moldable. Like your voice can sing a lot of genres. So like, one person's like, you should sing country. One person's like, you should be pop. And one person's like, you should sing on some like electronic songs. And of course, like some of these people were like doing really cool things in the music world. So you're like, okay. And then they give you all this advice, but nobody would like actually jump in and take you on. So we're kind of getting pulled in all these directions. And then, we kind of got just like burned out from that, because like we'd write a song, like this person's interested, write a song, this person's interested. And then we wrote this one tune just for us called The Pines, and like nobody cared about it that we'd show it to. And then we did this like, I don't know, 4 dates with this band called Kaleo.
Another band that had a huge hit that just kind of.
Oh, they had so many things with Way Down We Go. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So like we, right after their first album came out, we did like Toronto, Oregon, Florida. We did like a small run with them, and we were playing our song The Pines every night, and we're like, the audience are responding to this, so we just put it out on our own. And then that ended up like on a bunch of like Spotify playlists and New Music Fridays, and it went to number 2 in Canada. And then our record label, which they have they have US stuff too, but it originally was from Vancouver, where the CEO is. He heard it on his Discover Weekly, and he reached out, and then here we are now.
Wow. And that was on your first EP too, the self-titled EP?
Yeah.
Okay.
That song came out in 2016, I think. Maybe. Is that song right?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay. And then you got the Kaleo tour, and was that record out during that time? Or
no?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's kind of when we like started playing it live, and we were just like, you know what? This is fun to play live. A few people were meeting at the merch booth. They're like, when's that song coming out? So we just put it out, and I was like, cool. We did, we stopped trying to please everybody else and just put it out, and it was fun.
It did something. Yeah. Wow. And then I'm sure you toured the record for a bit, and then you put out an album, or Under the Spell, you were talking about earlier with Looking Glass. That record came out in 2020.
Yeah.
Was it beginning of 2020, or where were you when I'm sorry?
It was April.
Oh my. So like right after the world shut down?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about that record. I mean, you have a song with Weathers, who I've interviewed before, and they're amazing band. And how did that collaboration begin?
I mean, we've liked their music. We had at one point the same manager as Weathers, and I mean, he's an awesome guy. I don't think he's with Weathers either anymore, but like we had parted ways with him. But after Dancing in Daydream, we were like, this would be a cool one to turn into a duet. And when we hit him up, and he was like, let me see what Cameron says. And Cameron was really cool and cut his vocals, and we thought it was a cool fit. It just happened pretty fast. We just, it's like cool.
That's awesome.
We did record his vocals before the pandemic, though. That one was done before.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just thinking, yeah.
So did you have the whole record complete before the pandemic?
Actually, yep. Yeah, we did.
Was it a decision was that a hard decision to keep the album out coming out in April, or?
I don't think we had a choice.
No, and
oh, really?
I mean,
I've seen bigger bands than us, so maybe they had more at stake, like complain, like the record came out, but like a lot of them too, it's like if your thing was scheduled to come out in April, like chances are like for us, like we'd already had 3 singles off of it out.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's just like,
why keep it?
Yeah, you already you've already started releasing. I think the one with Weathers came out in January, and I think we did like a single every month up into it. So it's just like no reason.
What are you gonna do at that point? Did you have like big plans to tour it, and how was that all?
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of tour dates ready to go. We were gonna do a whole tour with Chris Daughtry.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, a few weeks of touring with him, and then we had just finished. We were actually getting home from New York City like 2 days before it shut down. So we had just done a headline run, our first headline run. We did like Boston, DC, Philly, New York, and then we were coming back to Rochester. And it makes me cringe to think back on March 7th or whatever it was that we were all crammed, 350 people in a room.
Right.
And then like a couple days later, it was like, hey guys, don't touch each other. Don't go near each other.
Yeah, right.
I was like, hope everybody enjoyed their last hurrah. But yeah, we did have plans, and it was a bummer. And we had just bought a bunch of vinyls that we were going to sell of Under the Spell. So if anybody wants one of those, let us know.
Just bought a whole new set of in-ears because like all new like live gear.
Haven't even touched them yet. Got brand new and custom in-ears. Don't even know how to use them yet.
But I mean, our live tour.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say they're not gonna go to waste, obviously. Now that stuff's opening up a bit. Have you had a chance to play a show yet? It doesn't sound like it.
Not really.
I mean, we've done like a couple like private like corporate events in Rochester, and like we did a couple college shows here in Rochester, but we're like
they're mostly acoustic though. So
yeah, they were like
band.
outdoor. Like the full band was outdoor at the college. It was fun. We got to like kind of get our energy out on stage. But other than that, we're like,
oh, that's right. That was last year. That was late last year. I forgot.
No, nothing like club yet, because we're like, I think our first like ticketed dates are in March. So.
Oh, cool. Oh, so you have stuff on the books, but you just haven't had it. Obviously, hasn't came around yet.
Yeah. Right. It's like touring's hard enough as it is when you're like at this level. You have to promote it, get everybody out, and then it's just like I can't even imagine that plus all the we didn't want to be the first ones out. We kind of want to like talk to our friends and be like, hey, how was it?
Right.
What were they? You know what I mean? Like,
and so many people, like I'm sure the market is just hard to get into right now since everyone was sitting around for so long, and then you have these bands that are maybe a couple levels ahead of you that are like, oh well, we get these dates, you might get kind of pushed out a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things happening, like like the big arena tours. I mean, those guys are fine and rightfully so, but then I think you're having like bands that like would play bigger venues are now taking up like the the 500 cap rooms or 1,000 cap rooms, just because so many venues are scheduling. I just think you're seeing like bigger bands taking smaller venues, and it's just like everyone's kind of pushed down a tier. We've known a lot of people that like announced a tour, at the beginning of summer, tickets like the first week, a lot of people are buying tickets, and then all of a sudden, everything changes week to week, month to month, and like all of a sudden tickets stop selling. People's temperature changes, it's just like.
Yeah, with all the different things happening, and then also, I would imagine, like, I forgot what I was gonna say now. With the people going down, like smaller business or the smaller venues closing. I mean, like the 300 cap rooms and those, a lot of them didn't survive, right?
I know, it's actually so sad. It's so sad.
So it just makes.
We can't wait to do it, but we're like, like she said, we had like a bunch of tour dates for 2020, and they like got canceled and then rescheduled, and they kept getting rescheduled. Like, I remember when they first got canceled, they're rescheduled for the fall 2020, or you know what I mean?
Summer,
and then they get rescheduled again. So like we're just like, you know what? Let's just wait until you know, you don't want to keep canceling, scheduling.
Sure. And was it during the past year and a half when you guys, because that covers record you guys put out is amazing. I mean, the songs you chose, I really like it a lot.
Oh, thank you. That's like a big part of us. I think we love doing covers, and it was fun to just kind of pick like our favorites and just go for it, you know.
And it's kind of like, I don't want to say all over the map, but a little bit. I mean, The Hills is, was that a Weekend song? You did a early Fall Out Boy song, which is rad. 1975 are on there. Lovely the band. I mean, and like we said earlier, you with The Night We Met. Like, how did you decide on these songs? Was it just stuff that you had been jamming, warm up songs, and then you decided to like, why don't we record this? Like, how did you go about choosing these songs?
Yeah. Well, The Hills was like the one tune, like, so like when The Hills was like a cover we did back when like that song came out. And
I think that was before the Pines.
That was before the Pines, and it did well. And so like when we signed with the label, they, we had a couple songs out other than the Pines, and they're like, we're gonna scrap those, take them off your Spotify. The Hills, they was a JV player, they bumped up to varsity and kept that. So that was its own thing. We just had that sitting on there. Fall Out Boy, we did a cover, and XM Coffee House Radio picked it up. That was like maybe a couple years ago. So we had the coffee there, Sugar We're Going Down sitting on there, and then the one that started the covers EP was in 1975. We covered that. We thought like this during the pandemic, like this is a fun one. We like the song, so we did that. And then the label's like, why don't you guys take these 3 covers that you have out and make a EP? And Alyssa fought for Lord Huron. And then
of course,
I think somebody was like, you guys need a song that's recent, or I don't know, and that's where the Lovely Band came in. So kind of has its own journey and path, but it really does. Yeah.
I know, but I personally think the song choices were rad, because I'm like, I love 1975. I'm like, because I saw the song titles and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, obviously, like right away I saw, Sugar We're Going Down, and that was like obvious. And then like the other ones and The Night We Met, but I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you got the 1975 one. Yeah, it's just a really, really cool collection, I feel like, that you guys were able to put together. And was that recorded? Like, did you just do that as like a project over quarantine?
Yeah, totally. And that was actually, it was fun because The Night We Met was one that was completely produced on this little laptop that we're using right now in this room. We just kind of went for it one night, and it was really fun. And that sparked our creativity with our originals too, with production, because that was the first time. When it's a cover, you're just like, and you don't think you're actually releasing it, you're just trying out new things, new plugins, new techniques. And then that was fun for us to be like, hey, this came out actually kind of cool. So but yeah, we did that all during COVID.
Awesome. And you have a new EP that you just came out, right? Midnight Monsters.
Yes.
Talk to me about that one.
Again, collection of songs that were written in the late hours or early hours, however you want to think about it. Like a lot of other people, our schedules were so out of whack during COVID, during the pandemic. It was like we were staying up until like 4 or 5 in the morning and sleeping until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It was so bad. But like those hours, it would like, our day would like start at like 9 o'clock at night, and we would go, it was terrible.
A little bit,
but not really. I remember being up with the birds and being like, okay, time to go to bed. It was really bad. I mean, we eventually shifted back, but it was but anyway, so we would go for walks, and we would in the really early hours, and we would come home and just like write. And it was really inspiring because the town that we live near is so quiet. It was so quiet. It was still snowing at the time. Like, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was very inspiring, I think.
And at night, the mic, like this room studio, which is not like technically soundproof and equipped, like during the day, the mics will pick up cars driving by. So it was way better. We almost had to record vocals and stuff at night because there's less cars.
Did you guys record and produce the record yourselves?
Pretty much. I mean, there was 2 songs on there, Coffee and The Moment's Gone, that a friend of ours who's a producer in LA, we like sent it over, and he did like some additional production, but I mean, everything was tracked up here. Majority of the stuff was done up here. Yeah.
Wow. So that's, I mean, I'm sure that makes it a little easier when you can just kind of, you're living in the or the space that you're writing and recording.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if we didn't have this set up. I mean, again, it's like a super primitive setup. It's like not crazy, but if we didn't have this and have like the ability to do this before the pandemic hit, whew, that would have been a rough year and a half, even more rough for us. But the fact that we were able to like use this as an escape and just be like, hey, let's create music. Let's, just do everything.
Yeah, you didn't have to rely on trying to get into a studio and then the studio's not wanting people in and maybe having one band in there every however long. So that's amazing. Exactly. You're able to kind of utilize the time to put out a record.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then you said you have some shows coming up and to support this, or I mean, you were trying to support the other one when everything stopped. So how are you going to go about it?
So much new music to play live now.
Yeah.
We're gonna just play them all. We're playing next year with Joshua Radin. We have a few dates with him. New York City, they're city wineries mostly.
Yeah, they're like acoustic strip shows. So, yeah.
So where are you calling from anyway? Where are you in?
I'm in south of Nashville.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Are you guys you're still in New York?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I actually just moved here. My family and I moved here about 7 months ago from California. Yeah, we're from San Diego.
Oh, that's a big move.
Yeah, we love it here though. It is so amazing. It's just such like when I thought of Nashville, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like a country town, but it really is not. I mean, it's just there's so many different genres of music. People that I would never imagine in a million years living here that are here, and just it's really cool. We really like it.
That's awesome. Well, congrats.
Thank you. So next time you're in Nashville, we'll have to come see you guys. So
yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
That's awesome. And I appreciate you guys doing this. This has been so much fun. I thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for the thoughtful questions and for all your research. My goodness. It's awesome. Seriously,
well,
thank you.
Thank you. I have one more question. If I can get an answer from both of you, I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Basically, well, from a singer standpoint, from a singer-songwriter, I would tell you to be really authentically you. It's going to take some time to figure out your voice and exactly what you want to do, and take that with a grain of salt. But don't let anybody box you into something. You gotta just try things until you find out, but don't let somebody, like Matt was saying earlier, everyone's like, go country, go pop, go blah, blah, blah. Just don't do it. Be authentic to you.
I like it.
That's my
and I would say one thing that like we've been trying to get better at is get into the habit of finishing things. I think it's so, in like a lot of creative spaces, so many people start stuff and never finish it. Us too. It's like, we used to like start a song, you write a verse, and then you just sit there and you have a folder of all these half-written songs. And it's just like the actual like task of finishing something is like something that's really good to get in the habit of and mastering, because it's like until you finish something, even if it's the worst song in the world, like once you finish it, like you get in the habit of actually finishing it. And then you can see, okay, this was that. I can do better. I can outright that, but then you can toss it aside. If you don't finish anything, it's like you never, adapt that skill of like, seeing it through. So whatever you start, just keep finishing it. It doesn't mean you have to release it. Doesn't mean you have to commit to it, but like see stuff through. Bring me back